Hi, I'm Tammy Honaman. Welcome to the Fire Mountain Jewelry Making Studio. Ice resin is a wonderful product for filling vessels. Vessels like bezel cups, bezels in rings, bezels that you may have made yourself. What I love to put into the resin or into the bezel cups that I fill with resin are paper, any sort of ephemera, crystals, shell, sterling silver beads. And the thing I love about these laser discs, they work really well with the disc cutter, and they create really fun shapes that are great for including into these designs. Ice resin is a two-part hardened resin that cures very, very clear and bubble-free. To work with it, you need to mix up a batch, and the minimum amount that you can work with is a ½ ounce. So I mix a ¼ ounce of each of the two parts, Part A and Part B. You pour Part A first, and I'll pour it to a ¼ ounce. And you want to be very precise because you want the hardening to happen, and you want it to happen properly. And then I'll pour the same amount of Part B into the cup, which has all of the measurements on it. Okay? And then to mix that up, the kit comes with a popsicle stick, and it's a perfect tool for the process. You just take the cup and the popsicle stick, and you gently fold the two parts together. It's like making whipped cream, or from baking when you're just folding in material. It works really very well with the popsicle stick. What you're trying to avoid is creating air bubbles. You will see them, but you don't want to stir it up vigorously and create lots of them. You want to mix that up for 2 minutes and just keep going. And the nice indicator is that the material actually turns clear once the mixing is complete. And here you can see mine is clear. And what I've done here is I've taken a bezel cup, and I have filled it with a piece of paper that I cut to match the bezel shape. I have filled it there with shell beads, a mussel shell, the laser disc that I showed you earlier, and a sterling silver bead and some Swarovski crystals, all of which really pop when the resin is in there. The resin also adds a really nice dimension and magnification. I will fill this chamber just to the top of the surface of the materials that are in there, and I will let that set. And once it's set, I'll determine whether or not I want to add more, and that takes about 5 hours. Meanwhile, after I first pour it, I want to just make sure everything's in place the way that I like it. And if you need to, you can go back in and you can move things around and really position them wherever it is that you feel you want them. As you are watching it change and go through its process, it's really good to put a task light over the surface so that if there are any air bubbles, they're raised to the surface. And once they come to the surface, you can use a piece of wire and just poke the bubbles so that they're dissipated as the curing process goes on. You need to let this rest, and again, if you want to add a second layer, let this first layer cure it for 5 hours, add a second layer, which will really create a nice doming effect and enhance that depth of your piece. There are lots of things you can do with this material and lots of things you can put in it, and some of the designs we've brought for you to see highlight some of those options. I know you're going to love working with this material. Thanks so much for joining me.